Good morning. Good morning. I give thanks for this perfect new day. Miracle shall follow miracle, and wonders will never cease. That, if you've ever gotten an email from me, you know that is my closing signature, and it has been that since, 2005 or 2006. To me, it is the perfect mantra, so much so that I haven't found anything better to change it to in the last 20 years. I don't know how much of you know my story, but I'll give you, and I don't want to repeat, I might have said it, but forgive me. We know that repetition is good. It hits differently sometimes. But driving back yesterday in the car with my husband from Washington, I was thinking about how similar my journey was to the journey that we're bringing you through this retreat. In 2005, my life fell apart. My husband left me. We were broke. Really broke, like seriously in debt. I was having issues with the kids because of my mental state. I was on every kind of drug you can possibly imagine, both prescription and illegal. And I was really an absolute mess. And a friend of mine suggested that I see he wasn't even sure. He's like, listen, this guy's an acupuncturist, but I'm not sure. He also calls himself an energy healer. And I think that you should see him because you're a fucking mess. And I said, okay, how much is it? And it was $75, and I couldn't even afford the $75, so my friend paid for it. Anyway, I go to this guy, and he's saying to me, oh, so tell me why you're here. And I start crying, Oh, my God. If you think I'm dramatic now, you should have seen me back then. I started crying to him, my parents died when I was 19, so I started crying, I'm an orphan, and now my husband's left me, and I have no money, and I'm all fucked up, and, I'm just a mess. I can't get out of bed. I was seriously depressed and really just couldn't, and I was the most reactive bitch you could ever imagine. Anything anybody said to me, I was reactive because I was like an open wound, and and nobody understood what I was going through, I was the ultimate victim. And so this guy, his name was Norin, he said to me, well, how do you feel that you created all this for yourself? I told him to go fuck himself. I left his office, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop, saying, well, what did I do? I did nothing. And I went back to him a week later, and he explained to me how it was about my thinking. And so our first lesson of I am willing to see things differently. I am responsible for what I see. That was my first aha. Oh my goodness. And you have to understand that. So I was, I guess, in my mid-30s at the time. And, I had been a seeker my whole life, literally from the time I was 7, studying astrology, tarot, Hinduism, Buddhism, you name it. I had been studying it, and I kept waiting for this, gigantic bolt of lightning to change me somehow, because I understood things on a very mental level. But it wasn't until then that I had the ultimate aha, like, oh, and everything I had learned started to make sense. Okay, so that was my first miracle, even though I didn't realize it was a miracle. So, that was the first lesson. And understanding that, I was given choice. Understanding that every minute of the day was a choice, and that I was making choices, and where I was in life was a consequence of all the choices I had made because of how I was seeing things. And then came me going on this internal holy journey, which led me to a very dark night of the soul. And some of you may know what that is, but if you don't, let me tell you, it's like exactly what Amber described in our lessons. Going out into the wilderness. Really, it's an internal transformation. It's something that you have to do by yourself. And you question everything. And I mean, I didn't know I was having a dark night of the soul, obviously. But it's a very lonely and scary place where you look at everything. You look at everything you've ever believed, how you thought life should be, all the things that, you grew up agreeing to without consciously really agreeing to it, just it being adopted into your head, and then suddenly things are not working for you, and you're like, how the fuck did I get here? And you have no faith that anything's going to get better, and the darkness is heavy, and you are just wandering. And I had that dark night of the soul back then, and that's when I met my second energy healer, Zila, who she's still my teacher, and I still go for energy healings to her. And the first time she meets me, she says, oh my goodness, do you hear the way you speak? Because my humor is very sarcastic and self-depreciating, pretty bad. I mean, I still have a tinge of that, but no. No. So she suggested that I read books by Florence Scovel Shinn. So, again, I'm really, I was getting there. I was on this holy journey, the beginning of this holy journey. And I start reading this Florence Scovel Shinn book, and I see the quote, I give thanks for this perfect new day. Miracle shall follow miracle, and wonders will never cease. And it resonated so much with me, and it became my mantra. And I was literally, if you can imagine, me walking down the streets of Manhattan, like saying that to myself, because at that point I understood that my mind was my enemy. There was nothing going on. I mean, there was plenty going on. There was plenty of horrible shit going on. But most of it was how I was looking at it. And I would just walk down the street trying to stop the chatter in my mind, because the chatter was what was killing me. The events were what they were. My response was this endless self-abuse, this endless chatter, this endless fears, like fear of everything. And just so you understand, everything stems from two things: love and fear. The lower vibrational emotions like anger, resentment, grief, they all stem from fear. And all the higher vibrational emotions like joy, bliss, all that comes from love, okay? So I was just in a state of fear. My parasympathetic nervous system was working overtime. My adrenals were constant. I was in survival mode. The only thing I could think about was what was going to happen to me and my son. And I was just a fucking mess. So I hear, and all these teachers are telling me, you got to stop thinking like that. Oh, that's easy. So I embraced this quote by Florence Scovel Shinn, and I would say constantly, whenever I would catch myself going to the dark place, I would interrupt it with, I give thanks for this brand new day. Miracle shall follow miracle, and wonders will never cease. I probably looked like a cuckoo head walking down the street, but you know what happened? A miracle happened. One day, and I'm not saying it happened quickly. I'm not. But one day I realized, wow, everything that's happening to me is happening for my benefit. It's happening for my growth, my soul growth, my human growth, and my soul growth. Okay? And that shift in perception was the miracle. I no longer looked at myself as this broken, horrible thing. I looked at myself as having a rebirth. And like Amber said yesterday, Amber said, when conceiving of our lives as a holy journey, the wilderness itself becomes hallowed ground. It represents a sacred rite of passage because darkness is a womb. It is that place whereby we get to reassemble our parts, understand ourselves better, burn through the ego, and reemerge anew. And that's exactly what I was starting to see. You know, when I kept reading this quote over and over again, I don't know what, the idea of a miracle to me was something that was gonna like lightning bolts and you know, supernatural shit, and I was gonna win the lotto, or you know, my husband was suddenly gonna turn around and be, you know, coming running back to me, which he did, but all these things that miraculous, you know, like burning bushes and staffs turning to serpents and, you know, biblical shit. But damn it, the miracle was the self-awareness, that space I gave myself between the shit that's going on and being able to view it. There's a tiny, tiny space. And you have to give yourself that space. And in that space, you will find miracles. And that's what I'm hoping for you, because I know that this is not an easy time to be alive. There's a lot of ugly stuff around us in the world. And our personal shit feels kind of heavy right now. But if you can take a look at it and wake up every day and realize that every day is a miracle. I mean, that is also part of being in nature and just observing nature and realizing every fucking minute is a miracle. Waking up in the morning, as soon as you open your eyes, what a fucking miracle. What a fucking miracle. Life itself is a miracle. We are some rock hurling through space with a big fireball giving us warmth and light and swirling around in space. It's a miracle. And I don't want you to think it's frou-frou to think like that. I just want you to start changing your perception and looking at things just a little bit differently. Again, I am willing to see things differently, but now putting yourself in the miracle mindset. That's taking it to a new level. The first miracle I want you to understand is I am exactly where I am supposed to be. So right now, along with me, put your hand on your heart. Take a deep breath in and say, thank you. I am exactly where I am supposed to be. All is perfect. And even if you don't believe it, that's just your ego not wanting to believe it. We got to burn that baby. And for those of you who asked, I think there was a question in the group. Ego is not a bad thing. No, it is our human part. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, and that human experience is the ego, right? And we have to overcome the ego and see beyond it to feel our spirit, to feel our soul. So therefore, the ego is necessary, you know? you can't find your soul until you found your ego. And again, that's that little space between the shit around us and the awareness. Okay? So let's start our day with this miracle mindset of knowing, wow, everything that has happened to me happened exactly as it should to bring me to this moment in time. Now, what if you believe, you know with your whole being that that is truth, okay? That is truth. You are exactly where you should be because everything that ever happened, every decision you've made, every experience you've had, the trauma, everything good, bad, ugly, it doesn't matter. But absolutely everything brought you to this moment in time. And it's all a miracle that you are here exactly where you're supposed to be. So now what? What do you do with that? You can't possibly be a victim anymore, right? Doesn't matter what happened in the past. Everything brought you to this moment. What a miracle. So let's spend the next 3 days exploring how miraculous we are and what a miraculous world we live in. And work with this idea that you give thanks for this day because miracle shall follow miracle and wonders will never cease. And that is a choice that we're going to make together and we're going to explore that together. But for now, the miracle is you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And let's give thanks for that.